Earth 2, number 4, written by James Robinson, art by Nicholas Scott and Eduardo Pansica. Last issue left off with Solomon Grundy showing up as a threat, and just to be honest, he is an avatar of the gray, whereas Green Lantern is, of course, avatar of the green. So this issue picks up with an explosion with the face of a man, and I think that it's based off the following 2 pages. We see that it was in New Guinea, I think back during the apocalypse, war thing. And we see a bunch of soldiers come in afterwards, and they're like, oh boy, something crazy happened here. Well, I wonder what it could be. And then they find this naked man inside of a giant, handprint on the ground, and they're like, oh, call it in. We found something big. And now, 5 years later, we see that the man in question was Captain Pratt, who is it's the Atom. They just say his name is the Atom. So I believe his powers are just growing and shrinking. So I don't know what that explosion was, but maybe he has explosive powers too. I don't know. We get back to him later. But anyway, he's ready to deploy against Solomon Grundy, and he's jumping out of a jet fighter in order to do it. And the guy inside the jet plane is like, are you ready for your big debut, sir? And he's like, this isn't my first rodeo. Pull the lever. Let me jump. So then we go down to Grundy, and he's just throwing around stuff around DC, looking for the Jade Warrior, because that's the big one he's got to fight. Cut back to Flash and Hawkgirl, who are basically seeing everything wilt and wither around them, and they're like, hey, Hawkgirl, is this you? Are you causing this? And she's like, no, maybe it's you. Maybe you're running fast cause this. And he's like, it might be. I genuinely have no idea if my powers do this. And she's like, no, hold on. I can sense it. It's in that general direction over there. Hey, if I hold on to you, am I going to be ripped apart from you running quickly? And he's like, I genuinely have no idea how my powers work, so hang on tight. And then she does, and he runs, and she's fine. So then we go to Alan Scott, who also knows what's going on. He can sense it, and he's like, all right, there's something going on in America, in D.C. I need to get there now. And it's all this superheroing this soon is almost enough to take my mind off the crash that robbed me of my fiance. Oh, I guess I'm not quite over that yet. So then we see a bunch of officers are shooting at Grundy, and he's having none of it. He just immediately picks them all up in his weird tendril things. And as he's about to kill them, Flash and Hawkgirl come in, and they just start attacking Grundy. And they do some pretty big bashes to the skull that would seemingly kill him, but he just regenerates. To which Hawkgirl immediately says okay, you don't know how to fight, and this guy can regenerate. So I need you to just go around and clean up civilians, and I'll handle the fight. To which Flash is like, you just said that you can't beat him yourself. Earlier, you said it was too much. And he's like, yeah, well, you genuinely will just be a hindrance to me, so get out of here. So Hawkgirl puts up a good fight, but immediately Grundy gets the upper hand and grabs her by the throat. And at that point, Green Lantern comes in, bashes him in the head, and of course he regenerates. But now he's like, of course, my one enemy here. You represent the green, I represent the gray. We must fight. And at that point, we see Flash is picking up the civilians. And he passes by a television that's reporting on the couple that he rescued 2 issues ago. And the couple's like, yeah, we didn't catch his name, but I think he said The Flash. And he's like, that's a pretty good name. I think I'll use that. So then we see the jet flying overhead as the fight rages on. And at that point, Captain Pratt, he jumps out. He uses his atom powers to turn really big. And he just lands on Grundy and completely crushes him. And he's like, all right, I did it. I saved the day. Oh, hey, Hawkgirl, you're still wanted by the World Army Council, right? And she's like, go to hell. And he's like, I have my orders. And he just grabs Hawkgirl out of the air, turns to Flash and Green Lantern and says hey, I'm legally obligated to do this, so don't try to fight me. And that's where we leave off, is him standing huge over top of them, on top of Grundy's quote-unquote corpse, and saying, don't fight me. I mean, it's good. It's solid. It's not doing anything too big yet. I feel like, here's the thing. During this same week, we have the Animal Man Swamp Thing crossover going on with The Rot. And to now have Grundy come in and also be representative of The Rot just feels a little bit, I don't know. Because it's clearly not tying into that, it just feels not as impactful, and that's nothing to say about the comic on its own. If you're just reading the comic and have no sense of like time for it, I'm sure it would be fine. But just because of how I read it, where we've had this huge setup for a past year now of the rot, it's just all of a sudden this guy coming in being like, oh, now I'm super strong as well. It's like, okay, but like, you didn't build up to that. So a little bit, I mean, he's interesting. He's a cool enough Grundy, I guess. He does look very Xenobite-y, but whatever. So writing-wise, it's probably like a high 6, 6.5. Art-wise, again, high 6, 6.5. Nothing's just standing out. That's the real thing I'm saying here. So overall, I'll give it a 6.5. It's good. It's fine. But for the first outing for this universe, it does feel a little bit, just a little bit lame. I wanted just a little bit more than that. So we'll see where it goes.